Hello again, friends, and welcome to another segment here on Doc G's Wine and Spirits Review. We are now heading into the holiday season. For all of you weather fans, it's technically winter already. For those of you that don't want to let go of fall, it's still the last couple of weeks of fall. Either way, welcome to today's spot. And even though we're not going to talk about Christmas yet, this presentation will actually be a perfect lead-in to help us get ready for the coming holiday season. Tonight I'd like to feature a wine that is a white wine only, and it originates, its origin is from France. I'll talk about all that in a minute, but tonight's presentation is everything you wanted to know about the grape Chenin Blanc. So you can see I have assembled a number of friends here on the table, and we're going to sample all of them. I'm going to give you a few facts and information about the Chenin Blanc grape, and we'll taste along the way, and hopefully you can find some good Chenin Blanc after we're done here for the holiday, and I'll tell you why it's good for the holiday in our presentation. So you must think that every time I do a presentation there has to be a bottle of sparkling. Well, fortunately, this grape comes in a sparkling version, and it is a fantastic grape. So while I'm talking about it, let me uncork it and get us ready to sample a number of Chenin Blanc varieties from around the world. So I'm going to try to open this properly. I have a little secret. I've been opening them too loud, so I'm going to try to do, you're only supposed to hear a, and that's the proper way to open a bottle of bubbly. Let's see if I can do that. Almost. The wonderful smoke arising out of that bottle. I am pouring for you a version of Chenin Blanc, but I want to taste it before I talk about it because you know how important it is to me to have my whistle wetted before I start talking. All I can say is cheers and welcome. Let's talk about Chenin Blanc. So I started with this one because I always want to start with a sparkling just to get us set off and get us started. So let me talk a little bit about the Chenin Blanc grape. And I promise for those of you that want to take a deeper dive, I don't want to spend a lot of time on facts and figures and information. But I do think it's important to at least give you a little bit of a background in case you don't feel like reading afterwards and checking out the information that I'll provide you from a wine website called winefolly.com. I love them. I have a couple books by them. They're a great source of wine information for all sorts of information. So let me first of all say that this grape, the Chenin Blanc grape, dates back to the 9th century in France, and it was found in the Loire Valley. It's actually named after Mont Chenin. So this wine is a very highly acidic wine, and that has good features to it. It has a great potential for aging, so when you find them, you can let them sit a little while. You don't have to rush to drink them. It comes in, because of its high acidity, it allows for a variety of styles ranging from sweeter all the way to bone dry. It allows itself to be done in a sparkling, which is not all wines, believe it or not, can be made into sparkling. You can do it, but some wines are better suited to sparkling than others. And Chenin Blanc is one that I've been drinking for years as a sparkling. I almost wanted to kick myself for not having done a spot on Chenin Blanc after all this time. So I was scratching my head wondering what I wanted to do next, and lo and behold, I said, I never did something on Chenin Blanc. So this is a first. It's a first presentation. I'm not sure I ever even mentioned it on past spots, but tonight is dedicated just to Chenin Blanc. So in France, and that's where this one is from, so let me talk about this one. This is called a Vouvray. Vouvray is a place in the Loire Valley, which is in the north central part of France, where champagne is grown, where champagne is made, I'm sorry. Champagne comes from grapes. Remember, all wine comes from grapes. It's not named after a place. That's where the grapes could come from, but wine is made from grapes, not from a place. So this one is brut style, which means it's dry. You can get this in sec, demi-sec, and even doux. You can get it in a sweet. I have not because I don't tend to do that. But the ABV on this is 12.5, which is right in that sweet spot for dryness. See the beautiful color there. This one has a little bit of steeliness, and that's one of the things. Let me talk a little bit about the flavor profile before I... That's wonderful. We have a little snack here. So the wine has a very typical flavor profile, but it can vary and based on the style in which it's made. The sweeter wines in the Chenin Blanc tend to bring in some baked apple and some honeyed elements. The drier ones are what I call steely, very minerally, very tart, very acidic. They will, when you sit on a Chenin Blanc, it says hello. It's not like a glass of milk going down, you're just going, it's coating. No, it's a high acid wine. Those do not coat your mouth. It's a medium to lighter bodied wine, so you're not going to get that big mouthfeel. It comes in, boom, and goes. And it's a fantastic experience when you have it. So what you're going to get on a Chenin Blanc is a lot of tree fruit, pear. You're going to get quince. Related to the pear, you're going to get apple. You're going to get some ginger for that zip. You could get, depending on the style, like I said, a little bit of honeyed overtone. And if it's oaked, you'll get a little bit of a pronounced version of all of those things. I have not seen many of these in the oak style. They really don't need it. The acid is actually the incredible feature of this wine. And, oh, that is so good. Little inside secret, when I'm done with this spot, I have some scallops thawing out. I'm going to pour a little bit of this in there and baste them in butter and white wine and have them over a nice bed of couscous. I'll let you know how that went. So, and that does lead me into my food pairings. This wine, because of its bracing acidity, is one of those wines that goes great with Asian food and the spices that you'll have in there because the acidity helps cut through that. It's also fantastic with chicken, with pork, with turkey, all of those white meats, so to speak. I don't know if I'd go with duck, but you can definitely go with chicken, pork, and turkey. And it goes fantastically with seafood and shellfish. I would probably not put it with a salmon, although you could depending on the preparation, but definitely with a grouper, with a halibut, with a flounder, with whatever white fish that you really like. It's going to be fantastic with shrimp and with scallops. That's why I saved. I knew I wanted to have some scallops today, so I reserved this wine just for that moment. So I'll post more about the facts and figures, and you can read to your heart's content all about Chenin Blanc when you see the post that I put when I post this video. So just a few other side notes about this wine. You want to serve it well chilled. Sometimes like with Chardonnays and Sauvignon Blancs, you can let them warm up a little bit. Because of the high acidity in here, you want it chilled a little bit because it'll get a little bit sour and it'll feel a little bit funny. So in the refrigerator, boom, take it out. You can even keep it on ice. It's a fantastic wine to serve chilled. And you might say, well, how did this tie into Christmas, as you said earlier? You know, you might think of this kind of wine, a high acid one that you would chill as a summer sipper. It's always a summer sipper. But you know what? It's not always summer. And you don't want to not have Chenin Blanc just because it's not summer. So the reason that I wanted to use this as kind of my intro and our lead up into the Christmas holiday is that any version here of this wine will pair with so many things that you're going to have on your dinner table, even if it's not the main course. Maybe if you're going to have a charcuterie board, a lot of salty food, as I showed you, I put some here on the table. Nuts, potato chips are fantastic with any bubbly, but with this wine, because of its high acidity, the hummus and light cheeses that you might have, and it'll go depending on what you have for your Christmas dinner. Chicken, pork, turkey. That covers a lot of what people do for Christmas. I would stay away from red sauce and Italian food and red meat with this wine, but that's about it. Otherwise, this wine could be the perfect way to lead in to your holiday. Don't be deceived because it's a white wine that you have to drink it in the summer. Don't be that prohibitive on yourself of when you can drink a wine. You can drink any wine, anytime. Just know that in the summer, red wines are probably going to open your capillaries a little bit more because they tend to be a little bit fuller. But outside of that, and they're higher in ABV generally than white wines. That's what's really what gets you sweating. So there you have it. I'll post a little bit of information about the Chenin Blanc grape that you can read to your heart's content. So again, to start our show tonight, we've started with this Vouvray Vignoble de Augustin. I found this for you PA people, since most of my followers here are from PA. This was available at the PA Wine and Liquor Shop. Now it's a limited, it was a limited release, but it was there, and there will be others in the future. I have bought one consistently from Wine Access. It is actually a Chardonnay Chenin Blanc blend. And Chenin Blanc, just as a side note, is actually an excellent blending grape. I've seen it blended with Viognier. I've seen it blended with Chardonnay. So it can go, and it's kind of a workhorse grape. And it's one that, if you find it, I would recommend you give it a shot. So with that said, let's take care of the leave no wine unconsumed. So let's move our sparkling buddy aside, and let's go around the world with Chenin Blanc, because I wanted you to be aware that Chenin Blanc is grown as a grape in 4 principal regions of the world. The first one, and the most important one, or I should say not most important, but the most prolific, is in South Africa, believe it or not. We haven't talked a lot about South African wines, but South Africa accounts for 55%. Hear that again, 55% of the world's production of the Chenin Blanc grape, and it presents a certain style. And I have one from that region. It is also grown 30% in France, in the Loire Valley, in places called Vouvray and Chenin. Now I have a still version of Vouvray here for you. So if you want to sound like you know a little bit of wine, hopefully I've imparted a little knowledge to you, walk into your wine shop and ask your wine shop helper, can you recommend a good Vouvray? And see what you find out. I can only tell you this, when you find it, it will be a Chenin Blanc. And you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for them. You can get them in the middle of that price range I talk about, around that $20 bill. No wine here on the table costs me more than $20, not even the sparkling. So Chenin Blanc is not what you would call a high-end grape in terms of price. So it's a great QPR, very versatile, very food-friendly, very sipper-friendly. So let's start, and then finally, I failed to finish out that equation. We got 55% from South Africa, 30% more or less, based on wine statistics, from France, and the other 15% comes from the USA and Argentina. I do not have an Argentinian Chenin Blanc. I have yet to find one in my travels, but I do have one from the good old USA right here, from a winery that I actually visited 14 years ago now, out in California. So let's start with the first one. Let's do some sampling now. Let's get our glasses in here. 2, 3. This one is made by Ken Forrester. It's a 2022. It's called Petit Chenin Blanc. I'm not really sure what all that means, but this one is from South Africa, from the area called Stellenbosch. I don't want to get too far into the weeds about South African wine regions. We'll save that for another spot. That's why I say we never run out of things to talk about when we're talking about wine. You can talk about terroir, you can talk about grapes, you can talk about serving, blah, blah, blah. So this one is 13.5 alcohol by volume. And it is the first time I've ever tried this one. I've had other Chenin Blancs from South Africa. So let's pour a little sample. Let's see if it fits the profile that we were talking about. Not terribly aromatic. You get a little bit of the problem is they want you to drink it cold, but the aromas are tamped down by the fact that it's cold. So you don't really get much on the nose when your wine is real cold. So if I let this warm up a little bit, it'll probably change its aroma profile, but its taste profile. Boy, there's that zip. It's like, whoop, you know it's in your mouth. And it gives you that little bit of a, like if you like ginger ale, it gives you that, and this is really good. This would be a perfect wine to pair with just your glass, with all of the things that I mentioned earlier. So this one I found right here in PA. I think it was right around $15 a bottle. It's kind of limited. Some stores have it, some don't, but it's available. So if you want to break yourself in to Chenin Blanc, I would recommend you start with the South African, since it is the most common type of Chenin Blanc that you're going to find in terms of production. So yeah, that one definitely a bracing acidity. So there you have it, Chenin Blanc, Ken Forrester, 2022. So we're going to go to the region that's responsible for the second most production in the world, and that is France. This is from the Loire Valley. This is a wine called Chateau de Montfort. This is a 2020. And I'm going to guess that even though it's 3 years in the bottle as a white wine, I wouldn't leave too many white wines in the bottle 3 years. But a Vouvray, because of its high acidity, you can do it with Rieslings because they're high in acid. All of your high acid white wines are good for aging. And when I say aging, by about 5 years, you want to make sure you're done with it. I mean, we're not talking about like a 30-year age here. So let's try this one. Give it a pour. Same grape here, guys. They're about the same color. Let's check out the aroma. A little bit, again, kind of a muted aroma, and I think that's because they're so cold. So let's try the flavor profile. Oh, wow. You would not know these are the same grape. This one has a little bit of, dare I say, it's a little bit like a honey. It's really round. It's got a fuller body. I'm not sure how this one was made, but let me see if it, they don't really tell you. What they say in the back here is serve chilled. But they do recommend, as I told you, it's a great accompaniment to seafood, chicken, and salads, as they say. It's actually very good just right now in this glass. This is 12.5. This one was 13.5. So that could account for some of that variation. It actually does have a little bit of more residual sugar on it. Wow, you're going to love this one. And this one's available in PA as well. Chateau de Montfort. I don't even remember what I paid for it. I know it was not a lot. So there you have it. You have our Chenin Blanc from South Africa, 55% of the world, 30% from France in the Loire Valley. I would go for a Vouvray. You can find a Chenin Blanc, C-H-I-N-O-N. It will be Chenin Blanc. It might have a slightly different profile. But we are now going to come back to the good old USA, and I'm going to sample for you a 2021 dry Chenin Blanc This was harvested. I love the way they say this on this Dry Creek bottle. I was at this winery, and it's the 50th anniversary of their winery. It's in Sonoma County. It was a fantastic winery. They make a lot of good wines. If you find their Sauvignon Blanc, it's great. Dry Creek, I'll post their name for you so you can get it. The residual sugar on here, they've really got a lot of data on here. It's 0.035, which means it's dry. It's only 12% ABV. It was fermented in stainless steel so that we know there's no oak. It's from the Clarksburg appellation in Sonoma County. I was there because I was at this winery. And they give a little shout out to the Loire Valley inspired roots. So this Chenin Blanc sees no oak aging to preserve the fresh tropical fruit, aromas, and flavors. So instead of talking about it, let's try it. So let's compare colors. Same color. So we know pale straw color for the Chenin Blanc. Let's see if pretty much, I'm going to be honest with you, my nose is working pretty well. Very little aroma. So when these are served cold, you're not worried about the aroma on the nose, but I'll tell you what, when they hit your palate, look out. Ooh, wow. 3 different wines. If I did a blind tasting with you, you'd go, what the hell's going on here? Because this one is so dry. It's amazing. And it's got like a steeliness, minerality, almost a little bit of a salinity. It's a little tart, but not in a bad way. Oh man. I know I've had this one before in past years, and this one I actually got on wine.com because I couldn't find it in the PA liquor store, but I know they carry it from time to time. Did you notice here tonight? 3 screw caps, minus the cork on the bubbly. So there you have it, my friends. We're inside 2 weeks now. 2 weeks, a little bit plus from Christmas itself. In my next spots, we're going to lead further into Christmas, and I'll have a special presentation for you for the Christmas holiday. So before I say goodbye for today, you gotta love that sound. I'm gonna go get ready to have some scallops. I hope you're getting ready for a nice dinner yourself. Even a little bit of a yeast on that this time. Cheers. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you again soon.